All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Johnson. It's a pleasure to have us again on today's Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. So we are discussing a crucial topic, suicide prevention. In the next 6 days, the world will be celebrating the World Suicide Prevention Day. That is on 10th of September. So since our workshop will come before then, so it's good that we discuss it and lay out some plans ahead of that day so that we can be able to implement this in our workplace. So that is the reason why we are discussing this topic today. So if we have shared some ideas, some knowledge among ourselves, so that when we go back to our workplace on that celebration, they will be able to utilize the ideas we have gained from this workshop to ensure that we implement it in our workplace. So I think that is the reason why we are discussing this topic today. So we'll be focusing on the role of health and safety professionals in prevention of workplace suicides. So the World Suicide Day will be coming on 10th of September, but there are also instances of workplace-related suicide. So we'll be particularizing it in our workplace and workplace-related. So that is what we'll be focusing on today. And if you have had some experience or you have heard some stories based on records, so you can also share with us and we'll learn from those experiences and know how to prevent it in our workplace. So that is the major reason why we are discussing suicide prevention. So first, let's discuss what we mean by workplace suicide. Workplace suicide is a suicide that is directly related or maybe significantly influenced by an individual's work. Okay, so that the type of suicide that is either it came as a result of the work that the person is doing, or that act was significantly influenced by the work that the worker is doing or the work environment. So it goes beyond physical suicide in the workplace. It could also be a type of an action that comes after the person must have left the workplace, but the effect or the influence from what transpired in the workplace could be part of what has triggered that suicide. So in such situations, we say that it's also workplace suicide. So there are about 2 scenarios that suicide can happen. So it can be a suicide that occurs at the workplace itself. So that is maybe the person just took an object in the workplace and harmed himself, or maybe he decided to fall from a cliff or from an elevated area in the workplace and harm himself also. So that is direct workplace suicide. Then another one could be a suicide resulting from work-related factors. Maybe the person lost his job, or maybe the person got a poor rating, or maybe the person is overwhelmed by the type of job he has, maybe the work pressure. So this could also be factors that could lead to somebody taking his own life. So we say that is another scenario in this workplace suicide. So there are different factors that will contribute to workplace suicide. One of them is high stress work environment. So if that work environment is high stress, there's a lot of demands, the workload is too much for the worker, there's unreasonable deadlines, and there's a lot of pressures which leads to burnout and affect the mental health of the person. So this high stress work environment is a clear factor that can trigger suicide thoughts. Another factor that can trigger suicide thoughts is work bullying and harassment. if somebody is subjected to continuous abuse, continuous intimidation, social exclusions, even devastating thoughts or maybe devastating approaches. So this can trigger or maybe be a contributing factor to workplace suicide, because it will affect the psychological part of the person. The person will begin to reason in different directions, which can lead to suicide thoughts. Another factor could be job insecurity. So when the person is concerned about being laid off, or maybe the person has received a termination notice, or maybe the company is closing down and he feels there's no more options, or there's no more opportunity outside there for him, okay, or the career progression is not progressing. He's been in a particular position for a long time. There's no progression in his career. So this can also trigger some anxieties, which will maybe lead to suicide thoughts and suicide itself. Another factor could be poor work-life balance. When the person or when the worker is not able to disconnect from work at certain times, because maybe he works very long hours, or maybe because he's too committed to the job, he's not able to take vacations, there's no leave, no sick leave. So there's no balance between the job and his life and his existence. So at a certain point, he could start thinking in that direction of finishing it up or ending it all. Then another factor in the workplace that can lead to suicide is lack of support. So when the worker is not being supported by the management, it's not being supported by colleagues, and the team culture is very poor, it's very toxic, there's a lot of competitions, there's no collaborations, there's no access to even mental health resources. So there's no support at all in the workplace. So this could be a factor that will contribute to suicide thoughts in the workplace. Now let's talk about what the WHO is doing and what other organizations are doing on the 10th of every September. That is World Suicide Prevention Day. So for this year and the last year, the theme is changing the narrative. So what is this World Suicide Prevention Day? What is it all about? It was established in 2003 by the International Association for Suicide Prevention in partnership with the World Health Organization. So each year on the 10th of September, we celebrate this World Suicide Prevention Day, focusing on global attention on suicide prevention. And the aim is to unite communities, unite organizations, unite governments, and bring a shared belief that will help to prevent suicide in our communities and in our workplaces. Okay, so statistically, there is about more than 720,000 people commit suicide every year. Now, each life that is lost has emotional, economical, even social consequences associated with it. So any life loss, there is loss in financial contributions that is supposed to make to the world. There is emotional consequences attached to it. The family members, friends, even colleagues will be in psychological pain. Then families will be affected, friends will be affected. So that is one of the reasons why we should be taught, and everyone, especially in our field as health and safety professionals, we should be touched and do our own part, contribute our own quota to ensure that even if it's just one life that we're able to save, that will go a very long way. So changing the narrative on suicide is the theme for this year. And this team is focusing on challenging every person to ensure that all those harmful minds that are available everywhere is reduced, and targeting at reducing stigmas, trying to foster open and compassionate conversations about suicide. So this will help to shift that narrative of silence, people being misunderstood, towards openness, towards empathy, and towards support. So this team, changing the narrative, will help to create an environment where people will feel safe, where people will feel that they can be heard. So they will speak up, they will seek help. So that is the major focus of this team for this year. So if we are able to change the narratives about suicide, remove it from blame culture, remove it from a culture of people buckle up at issues or their pains, and create an environment, create a room that people are able to speak out, people are able to engage in compassionate conversations, then we are trying to change the narratives, and this in a way will help to reduce the urges or maybe the thought of suicide in anyone. So let's look at what the global statistics looks like as it has to do with suicide. So this information is directly from World Health Organization website. So we have the top 4 causes of death for people between the age of 15 and 29. And surprisingly, suicide comes as the third most 4 causes of death. So what this simply means is that it comes below road injuries and interpersonal violence, then comes suicide, which means road injuries, which is everybody is driving. So we are expected to have very high number of deaths from road injuries. But suicides that are just like a tunnel is personal. So why are we recording such number of suicide? That means there is something going on. Now, the highest number of suicides based on gender, we see that female is taking the lead. So the rate of suicide in female is higher than that of a male. So let's look at these statistics also in regions. Let's consider some regions. Globally, African region is leading the number in suicide rates as stipulated by World Health Organization, the statistics collected in 2021. So we find out that African region has the highest number of suicide rates per 100,000 of the population. Okay, so this number is followed by European Union and followed by American region and followed by the Western Pacific region, and the last is the Eastern Mediterranean region. So what this tells us is that locations, regions also plays an important factor in this suicide statistics. So as per age, globally, from the record, we find out that suicide is not only dominant on low-income earners. So this calls for another type of attention, that the high-income earners is even topping the chart in the suicide rate. So that simply means that there are other factors that are responsible for suicide, that is not just financial stability or maybe the level of money you have. So from the statistics, we find out that high income earners, they top the chart, and that chart is topped by men. So the men earning very high are also committing suicide. And low income earners, followed by low income earners, men also. Now, then followed by upper middle income earners, men. So what is this trying to tell us? The statistics is telling us that the rate of suicide per 100,000 population as recorded in 2021 is topped by men. So that means we have high rate of men committing suicide as against the rate of women committing suicide. So let's look at now the major thing we want to discuss today, the role of occupational health and safety professionals in workplace suicide prevention. What is expected of us? What is our own contribution to prevent workplace suicide from increasing? So the first thing that we should do, or we should be continually doing, is risk assessment. We should identify the risk and assess it properly, then recommend adequate control measures that will ensure that the suicide rate or suicide thoughts are reduced in our workplace. Okay, so the first thing should be is to identify the workplace risk factors. What are the risk factors in our workplace that could contribute or increase the suicide thoughts or suicide in the workplace? Such as long working hours. When we identify these factors, long working hours, lack of control, poor communication, toxic workplace culture, bullying, harassment. So all these workplace risk factors, if they are existing in our workplace, we identify them. When we identify them, we also identify some of the warning signs. The warning signs that could help you to identify that somebody is going through a tough situation, or somebody might be thinking in the direction of suicide. Some of them are social withdrawals. When somebody has intentionally withdrawn from activities or from socializing in the workplace. Okay, change in performance. When somebody that used to be a top performer in the office has suddenly dropped in his performance. Okay, increase in absenteeism. When somebody who was always at work, suddenly he doesn't come to work, he's skipping work every time. Then when there is a expression of hopelessness, when somebody regularly tells you that I don't think there's anything in this life, I don't think I should leave, I don't think I have to stay again. So in such situation, these are warning signs. When the warning signs are clear, then we should be looking at control measures. Let's look at other roles that safety professionals should be playing. The second part of the role that we should play is policy development and program implementation. We should develop mental health policies. So these mental health policies should be in form of creating formal mental health policies. Okay, in that policy, we should implement measures that will help in reduce stigmas, that will encourage workers or employees to seek help. So if we have these mental health policies and workers are familiar with these policies, then it will help to reduce pressures, it will help to reduce mental health issues, and inadvertently, it will help to reduce any suicide thoughts. Then we can also implement employee assistance programs. Employee assistance programs such as having mental health resources. Maybe in the library, or maybe in the clinic, having mental health resources that people can, that will be reachable and accessible to the workers, that when they get educated, when they're able to get the right information, then their confidence will be improved. So they will be able to seek help, and they will be able to confide in someone and be able to receive help, and that will elevate the thoughts and the situations, thereby reducing that thought of suicide. Then another thing that we should do is training and education. It's part of our job to ensure that we educate our workers. We should lead in training sessions. We should train not just the workers, but the managers, the leaders, the supervisors. Because from our statistics that we read from World Health Organization, it shows that the leading suicide people are not just the people at the bottom. They are the high earners. So it means that even people who are high earners, people who are at the top of their careers, can also be having suicide thoughts. So our focus should not just be on the workers or on the low income earners, but we should also focus on the high income earners, because they are also at risk of suicide thoughts. So trainings on mental health, trainings on crisis interventions, how we should respond to crisis, or how we should respond to suicide issues or suicide cause. So we should give adequate training, give them adequate resources, and provide adequate reach out contacts, so that when such a situation arises, we're able to reach out to them, and that will help to reduce the thought of suicide. So another role that health and safety professionals can play is creating supportive culture. So as health and safety professionals, we can foster positive and supportive culture in our workplace. This will help to reduce those suicide thoughts. How can we achieve that? We can achieve that by promoting work-life balance, creating room for people to be able to socialize, creating flexibility hours, creating boundaries on after-hours communication, that when the job is over, people should be able to take their rest and hand over the job to the next shift. So creating a room for people to take time off, encouraging people to take their vacations. So these are some of the supportive cultures that we can create by promoting work-life balance, and this will help to reduce those suicide thoughts. Another thing we can do is advocate for change. We can advocate for change between leaders and employees. If the organization management are not giving the workers the necessary attention, the commitment to their health and safety, the necessary commitment to their mental health, if that is not being implemented, then as health and safety professionals, we should be the advocates that these employees need. We should be the ones speaking on their behalf to the leaders, letting the leaders know that mental health is necessary, letting the leaders know that their psychological safety is also necessary, and letting the leaders know that there is need to reassess the psychological situation of the workplace, so that the workers will be able to function effectively, thereby reducing the thought for suicide. Another thing that health and safety professionals can do is to initiate open communication. Ensure that workers are able to communicate openly without being judged. They are able to normalize discussing mental health. So those type of topics that people usually hide, those type of topics that people don't want to discuss. So if we create that open communication, lead the discussion, help people to feel free to speak up on the issues that they are facing. So this can help to reduce or erase those thoughts of suicide in the workers. So as health and safety professionals, we have crucial roles to play in this. Another role that is down on us is to implement crisis response and prevention plans. So in as much as we have done everything possible by opening communication, initiating transactions, promoting mental health. But in a situation whereby there is a emergency, there is crisis, we should have a crisis response plan in place. And this crisis response plan should be developed, and it should be clear enough. It should be documented that everyone is aware of what is the plan, what is expected of us to do, how we should contact emergency service, and what are the immediate support that we can provide for any employee that is affected or that we discover that is thinking about suicide. So having a crisis response plan is going to help us to have a clear communication channels. We have a clear action plans that in case or in a situation that there is a emergency or that somebody is getting involved in this type of a situation or suicide, that we have a designed plan that everyone in the workplace is aware of, that we can implement immediately, and we can be able to rescue that person. Then we should have a post-intervention support. So if somebody has been involved in suicide thoughts, or somebody has been connected to this type of thoughts, we should have a support system in place that will be able to revive him, that will be able to prevent him from developing such thoughts again by implementing counseling, having a suicide rejection or prevention resources in place, providing psychological support, connecting with mental health experts in our workplace to ensure that those workers or those employees in that situation are adequately supported and they are adequately cared for. So this will help to relieve them of any stress or any urges or any thoughts that could bring those thoughts of suicide in them. So these and many more are some of the roles that health and safety professionals can play in order to prevent workplace suicide in our workplaces. Okay, so as our culture has been, I'll just leave this presentation here, open the floor, and let others share their experience and also share their knowledge and their thoughts on this topic. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Just like you said in your presentation, with all points that I have with me, I found out that you said every single thing which I've written down, in terms of our responsibility as health and safety professional, because for those of us that are here today, we should understand that we have a vital and numerous role to play, in terms of preventing suicide in the workplace. And at the same time, one of our justifiable points we can always use, as a defense when we need to discuss with our top management regarding providing resources, or in terms of supporting suicide prevention at the workplace, is we need to focus on the area that we all understand that when somebody commits suicide in the workplace, we should be able to know the implication, because it has legal and financial implication to the organization. Because both from the legal perspective, the organization is going to spend money, and in terms of productivity, the organization is going to lose money. So when we use that strong point in terms of return on investment, we should have a strong backing to use for them. However, it's unfortunate that looking at the statistics from the World Health Organization, we found out that the male are the most vulnerable group, with the updated statistics which Mr. Johnson projected. And sometimes it's not about being financially stable. Okay, both those who are financially stable, those who are financially unstable are all victims of suicide issues. Okay, And now, but I know in some jurisdiction, in some country or some places, we discover that it affects those, you know, you find yourself in some region where people work, laborers work, some company refuse to pay them their salary 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. This is another factor. Okay. So, but generally, suicide, it has to do with mental health issue. You know, if I would draw us back during the time of COVID, or shortly after, they introduced an ISO standard, which is ISO 45003, which is a supporting standard to the ISO 45001. Okay. Now, this 45003 has to do with psychological, it's all about how we can manage psychological risk, you know, in our workplace. And this supporting document is not expected for an organization as a standard certification. Okay, no. But what they try to do is they made it as a supporting document, you know, to complement the 45001. Okay, so but specifically focus on mental health issue. And suicide is not uh, out of the game. It's part of the whole psychological health and well-being, you know, that has to do with the workplace. That is why, as an health and safety professional, we've seen the numerous rules and responsibility which Mr. Johnson have said, right from the number one point is for us how we can recognize the sign. We must be able to, we're supposed to be a very smart people, you know, to be able to recognize signs, you know, of people who are going through a suicide thoughts or going through a lot of mental health issue, because without this issue, they cannot be suicide thoughts in the first place. And one thing I want us to understand is that for somebody to commit suicide, he will not just feel something today, then the next thing is suicide. No, it accumulates. You know, from research, from what I've read, it accumulates, it builds up. Okay, it begins to hit deep, you know, into the fabric of this person's brain. Then at the end of the day, this person would have come with different kind of thoughts, a lot of research, how to kill himself or herself, you know, stuff like that. So just with the thinking of an eye, just a single day, single minute, single second, the person can decide to take his or her life. So, like as Mr. Johnson has said, as a professional, we have to look at recognizing signs, we have to engage in training and awareness, education, we have to look at how to incorporate issues like this into our workplace policy. We have to design a support system. These are what we should be proposing. In some organizations, it could be challenging because they might not have any. But we have to bring things together and present to the management and give them justifiable reason why we should have such policy, why we should have such support system like the employee assistance program, stuff like that. How we can create a kind of supportive culture, you know, and also try to identify high risk group, you know, in a place where we work. I can understand when we talk about high risk group, we should be able to identify some people, some nationality who are at high risk. You know, these are the things. Even in my project currently, immediately I assume office, I just identify some two nationalities. I say, no, what's the problem? Why are these people still in this project? But this is a story for another day. But some people in a project or some group of people are, are at high risk to create many things in the site. So we should be able to understand this when it comes to suicide issue. And I think from an experience I observed where I am, there was a year we discovered that somebody went. It did not happen in the workplace, but we've had a lot of scenario that happened in the workplace, but not in a project that I've worked. Okay, so we've seen I've seen a situation whereby somebody went into the rooftop of a building of like maybe 3 or 4 story building and decided to jump. In fact, the rescue team came, the government rescue team came, they already set the place to rescue this guy. But before they could say Jack, this guy already took his life, you know. We never knew what this guy has been passing through, for the past months, for the past weeks, for the past days. These are accumulated issue, and many factors contribute to it. It could be related to your job. It could be related, it will be from home, coupled with what the person now face in the workplace and all that. So that is why, for me, one skills we should have as a professional, the number one skills we should have is how to recognize the sign, from someone who is undergoing such thoughts or passing through mental or psychological stress. Anything can lead to suicide. Any form of stress, any triggers can lead to suicide. It could be emotional, it could be related to family, it could be related to marriage, it could be related to your direct work site and all that. But anything that has to affect or that has to stress you mentally, it can lead to that. So, and most importantly, after recognizing the sign, the most important thing, second step, which I believe is the education and awareness. Because the more the workers are aware, the more they are trained, the more they are educated about the danger of such thing. Before this thing takes over them, the better it is for them and for us as a professional. Because while we are putting our life in this line of profession, I believe for every one of us is to save life. Apart from medical doctors, those that come next, we are the one, because the essence why we are there is because we want to ensure that as people come to work safely, they need to go back safely without any harm or form of injury, either physical or mentally. So for me, that's just one or two things I would just like to focus on. Like I've said, what I've written down, what I have, Mr. Johnson has really, really dealt with those points. So I will not want to have a repetition of what he has said 100%. So thank you very much. I will open the floor for others to give some or cite some examples or scenarios which they come across or experience. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to make my little contribution. So the floor is open.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, thank you, Mr. Steve, and Mr. Justin, and everyone participating.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's really a great topic, and Mr. Justin and Steve had really given us the breakdown. Just to comment what you guys have said. Yes, you've touched basically the point that the basic points that really affects people in the area of psychological health, mental health, social, and all that in the workplace, and how organization can alleviate this problem of suicide in the workplace and how it affects individual and all that. Like what most of the suicide cases can be prevented if, just as you have mentioned, if we see the sign early. Like from what the first-hand experience I've got in the workplace regarding a suicide issue was regarding one employee who attempted suicide. But before then, some of us in the HSC department had already noticed this guy, though he was relatively new in the project and he was kind of very cold. So at first we think because he's new, just coming from his country to the Middle East, he's missing the family and all that. But we never knew that it's beyond that. This guy has requested the HR that he wants to go back. He does not like the workplace he wants to go and all that. So they refuse him. They keep pushing him to work. So until this fateful day, when people were having TBT in that morning TBT while we were trying to assemble people, and this guy is somewhere in the site, isolated area already. He actually put the rope on his neck already. But fortunately, one of the workers get to find that and blow the alarm, and he was rescued. So just like suicide, they say somehow is spiritual, but I don't want to bring spiritual issue here. Like they said, when somebody attended in my place, there's this adage that when somebody attended suicide once, they tendency that he can do it again. So I don't know if it's superstitious or it's just a mercy. So, but the safety department intervened. We tried to uh, bring the guy to the office. So we engaged him with gradually he socialized and he blended and fully we as well instead of being site laborer, we make him a safety assistant, and later he was happy and he completed the project. Everyone was happy. So that was what I experienced regarding the suicide case. So uh, it's just very important that we try to create a social environment where people can be integrated, where people feel belong. Even we, every worker in the workplace has one burden or the other, from management to labor to everyone. But there is uh, difference in problems and all that. But if in the workplace, if we can create, just as you said, policy, recreation activity, social activity, people be friendly to one another, try to avoid bullying and even try aggravating the situation of other people. And of course, beyond that, sometimes the company itself can contribute. There are other contributing factors like as Steve have already mentioned, salary, non-payment of salary on time. People, some workers they borrow money to come uh, to be employed. They have to pay back a lot of things. So a lot of factors. So these things have to be looked into. To like forced labor is there, modern slavery. Those things can aggravate suicide intention in individuals. So we, as professionals, I believe even if we have our own problem, we should take this kind of training on how to, encourage people in the workplace, and I believe can go a long way to prevent a lot of cases related to suicide. So that is it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Andy, for your great contribution and at least sharing us with your first-hand experience on cases like what we are discussing today. Yeah, I think Peter, I saw your hand earlier. You wanted to say one or two things. You can do that now, Mr. Peter.
Yes,
Hello.
good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
I really appreciate this meeting because it has a lot to say as regards to workers' welfare. Because if I would suggest, even I have sent official message to my HSC head of department that if we can prepare mental health policy and ensure it is implemented, because it will go a long way. Most of suicide happens within the workplace, and it is as a result of what? We're not creating that awareness. Even though the awareness is there, it is limited. It's not like, it's not properly kind of escalated. I hope I'm communicating. Hello?
Yes, yes, you are.
So
Yeah.
I really love this topic. Okay. And I've had this experience when that was 2000 and after the World Cup. Most of the one of the companies I was working there decided to lay off workers. So can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
So it happened that some of the workers one of the workers was in the camp, in the labor camp. He has stayed for like 2-3 months without job, and the company is not paying, and they want to send him back. So one of them at midnight just went at one of their completed building near the camp and then fall from there. It was in the morning that we found the death call. See, so the thing became a very serious issue, and then investigation started. So it is highly very important that we as safety professionals need to ensure that we escalate this particular mental health policy, so that each and every department, especially the head of sections, should engage their workers and make them feel free to open up what is their problem. Like I said, I sent the message that I would like to have a document regarding this so that I can share with my team. Please, it's very, very
Sure,
important to me.
we'll share it. We'll share it in the group. Yeah, the presentation slide will be shared on the group.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
WhatsApp
Thank
group.
you.
I
Yeah,
believe you're in the group, right? You're in the WhatsApp
yes.
group? Okay,
Yes, sir.
sure. Okay.
Thank you very
We'll
much
get it. Yeah.
for giving me the opportunity. I'm
You,
very grateful. Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Amojade, Prince Will, Somaro, let's have your own contribution. Mr. Somaro, you can speak.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It is always a pleasure to attend this meeting. It has been a while. I'm back today, and as always,
Welcome.
I will start from appreciating the presentation. The presentation was very good, and the information given here are very important. Thanks to you for giving this information regarding ISO 45003. I didn't know about that. Now I know I will do my research, and if there is any specific training related that I would like to do it. Thank you very much once again.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The contribution I want to make is about the contributing factors. There is 2 factors that contribute additional to the many factors that we have already highlighted, which is a triggering event on site. You know, this thing can happen especially in the organization with a strong health and safety culture, where there is a availability of resources, everything is okay, there is support. So this type of organization, we think that since we are doing things great and everything is going well, the probability of having accident is very low. Then all suddenly you see incident happen. Then someone pass away. After this incident happen, you is sometime someone in the organization will feel that he has not done his part. And this feeling of being guilty can lead to suicide. It is very important to support people after an triggering event in the organization. This event can be like death incident of one people or catastrophe event when there is a death of many people in the organization. People who are people who take the decision. It can even be health and safety guys, like a safety manager who think that they have given him everything he needed, but unfortunately someone dead. He feels starting guilty that, oh, maybe he's the one that doesn't do his job very well. That is the reason this thing happened. Or maybe the line manager of the person that was there during the incident. So if those people, as we mentioned, didn't receive necessary support or training awareness after this event, the probability for those people to do suicide is very high. So it's very important after we have dead case on our side to support people to know who are involved in this incident, who was close to the person that was involved in the incident. Are they linked by family? What are the implications of each and every one? Those moments are very critical to activate our mental health support policy. The second thing is a human personal factor we have already mentioned. But one thing about that human factor is pre-existing personal mental health. The HR department, as all departments, have their role to play. Because in the organization, the recruitment system can expose or the probability of having suicide than due to this recruitment. If you recruit someone who has already mental health issue, you don't know. And everything is okay in your organization, but the person was already having this mental health issue and it lead to suicide. It become complicated. So it is very important to know people, it is important, it is complicated issue, but not impossible. It is possible to do some investigation to see the medical history of the person you are recruiting, so that this person will not be someone with mental health, pre-existing mental health issue. The third things I want to highlight is this topic is very important topics. Thank God we have two testimony here, and we can see through the statistic that has been given here that suicide really exists and it is affecting people. The statistic even is not saying all, because these are only reported cases. So what is happening around the world where there is not possibility to report it? Because not all organizations are reporting this type of situation. Many people dies, or some even dies on the road. They commit suicide, but people will think it is accident. Many suicide look like accident, but we cannot record them as a suicide. So the number is even greater than what we have seen in this presentation. It is really alarming. It exists. So we need to be very careful. And as it is said in the presentation, we need to pay attention to the sign. It starts with small sign, then start getting worse until at the point that the person decides to kill himself if he does not receive any support. So that was my little input today. Once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you for this great presentation. The topic is very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful contribution. In fact, I grabbed something very important, especially in the area of, the recruitment process, which that should fall within the HRO and in support with the health and safety department, because it's very important and essential that while onboarding process is on, we should try to have a kind of a screening, a kind of suicide or mental health related screening for people who are joining an organization. From there, we might be able to have some or some view, or be able to view some certain traces of mental health related issues or anything that has to do with suicide, and maybe probably keep this employee within a certain period of acclimatization to also watch if there will be any changes, if there will be any more sign to be observed by such employee. That's a very good point. That's one thing I learned from your contribution. I'll give the floor to Mr. Prince Will. I think your hand was up earlier, so you can make your contribution.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
We can hear you. You're welcome. Yeah, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. First of all, let me also appreciate this very important topic, for the fact that we have to bring it up earlier before the celebration day against work suicide on the 10th of September. It's a very good one. And for me, I know that from Monday, I will try as much as possible to also educate my workers about this workplace suicide. You know, it's real, it's real on its own. People have taken their own life as a result of the kind of working environment they find themselves, and knowing the fact that even when they try to complain, lay complain, and the complaints are not going anywhere, as much as possible, two things can be involved. One is either they take their life or they leave the job. So it's causing a whole lot of mental health, as we mentioned, to human beings. And it's what the most painful part is the CEOs, the MDs, the managers who have acquired so much of working experience and certification in health and safety, and even in their various businesses, know about all this, but then most persons tends not to apply it. Of recent, this um, workplace suicide actually played out, and even the mental health issue also tried to play out in my working environment, because every year, for example, I want to share a typical story that happened of recent. Every year in my company, there's what they call appraisal, promotion, bonuses will be given, some person's step or level will be increased in the workplace. And this kind of thing cut across all the company's departments, to every department. You know, it is not limited to any number. If you want to bring all your departments, bring all the names, and the company will pay. But this year, something happened, and for the health and safety department of my company, it was only the environment department that got the bonus, or that got the level in step, and we that are in the safety department started frowning, murmuring, talking, soliloquizing. Side talk started raising up, that persons who have put in, like one of a colleague of mine in safety, complained that over 10 years of his life for working in the company, he has never gotten any bonus in salary. His step has never increased. He has never gotten any appraisal from the company or from the department. It goes a long way to show that even the managers who are supposed to support us, because while you are making this topic, you say that most of the contributing factor towards workplace suicide is lack of support and motivation. The managers knew all about this, that when you support people, when you motivate them, you get good results. The work is being done quickly. When that event happened and the safety department was not given, one of my colleague who handles permit work was bittered. Why? Because he said he has been in the project for 5 years. He has been working in the company for 5 years, and he has been there. The new workers, especially the female workers who are closer to the ogas, the managers who are closer to them, they were all given bonuses. And he who controls a permit of more than 100 permits comes to his tables every day. He's being faced with a whole lot of workload and is not being recognized. I think this topic is very, very important for everybody to hear it. I know they are all aware about this, what their actions can cause to people. But I think it should be taken wider so that everybody can begin to know that, yes, whatever you do in the workplace has a way to affect us positively or negatively. Because our entire goal is to ensure that everybody is happy in the workplace, work is done smoothly. And how do you do that? Is by motivating people, is by supporting people. When you don't support people, you don't get the best result. When you don't motivate people, you don't get the best result. So this is just a typical example of what played out. And if care is not taken in my own company, if care is not taken, such person can move into depression. Such people move quickly into the. I'm not trying to joke, but for 3 days, the worker was lamenting. And the fourth day, I asked him, bro, let's go to two bus stop. He said, I beg, I should leave that two bus stop, that he has been trying his best and nobody is seeing him, nobody is observing him. That why will he be putting much effort? That shows how, when someone is not motivated, how it can be. I feel very happy to be here to listen, and I think even me too, that is even speaking, it happened to it. It happened to me also after the experience, because I'm not like I'm always at the field because I'm a HSC officer. Me that is in the field, ensuring that the documentation, the work method statement, JHA, risk analysis that has been done is being followed to the latter. Work procedures are being followed. Ensure that subcontractors do not deviate from what has been written already in the document. Under the rain, under the sun, we look out for how people can work safely and go back home safely. And then people who sit in the office because they are your girlfriends, you now give them bonuses, and you leave people who are they call us the foot soldiers, because yes, we are the foot soldiers, and you leave them behind. It's very, very demoralizing, and then it can lead to depression, mental health issues, and before you know, suicide thinking can start coming into the mindset of those individuals. I'm glad to be here, and I think I've learned something. I have an experience about it. A whole lot of persons have experience about it. I have my own experience. And this campaign should be broadcasted widely so that people can begin to learn better. Thank you. And let's continue to keep the safety practice high in our various areas. Thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome, Mr. Princeville. Okay, because for me and to you, I believe this is just a wonderful opportunity to have a contact with you with respect to this topic and with your experience. What I would like to advise you to do is, for those of your colleagues who you feel they were affected by the decisions that were made within your organization, you can try to call them. When we share this slide on the group, you can also share with them, let them go through it, just to give them a little bit of motivation, to encourage them. Because for me, I believe for you to have attended this section, at least a little bit of narrative should have been changed, because of the way you felt previously and compared to what you have experienced from this short-term discussion regarding suicide or mental health related issue. So another thing I would like to say to us is that we can always use an opportunity of what we do professionally to push. You know, for example, if you have an opportunity to give a presentation or to champion a safety campaign, you know, within your organization, it might not be this year, it might be next year, it might be anytime. Some strategic topic like this should be suggested. And when you have the opportunity to make such presentation, you can cite scenarios. Okay, now you don't say it like this is exactly what's happening within your own organization. You can make reference that, oh, you have somebody in this organization, blah, 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 things like this happen. You just give a scenario that links to what has happened within your organization. I think in that way, one should be able to pass the message even to the orga them, you know, for them to understand that they should be, for people to be mentally stable at work and for us to have more productivity, there need to be a fairness, there need to be a balance. It's because I just believe these people, they are operating out of professional ignorance, because if you do things unjustly, directly or indirectly, you're affecting the performance or production capacity, you know, of the individual workers. Okay, so unlike your colleague that you said, oh, I don't want to go to 2 bus stops, I don't want to see, it's really demoralizing. I believe many of us can learn from your story, you know, from what has happened. So I believe as a professional, we should continue to do our best and encourage and influence our organization. Thank you very much. Is there any other person before we call it a day? Mr. Mojaide, yeah, I don't know if you have 1 or 2 things to say. So let's, I think you are the only one left. If you can make 1 or 2 contributions, so we'll call it a day. Okay, maybe Mr. Mojade, maybe he's in transit. I don't know. So I think at this juncture, we have to call it a day, because I think everybody on the list has said 1 or 2 things regarding this topic. So as soon as possible, I'll get across to Mr. Johnson. He will make the copy of the presentation available on the WhatsApp group. So any one of us that want to, okay, you have
hello,
the floor.
Mr. Francis.
Yes,
Yes,
you have the floor. You can
well,
speak.
I will say I actually enjoyed all what was discussed, and I want to say that I really don't have much of that kind of experience, though, but it's a good one that organizations should motivate the workforce, because motivation is what really drives workforce to perform in a way that will lead to the productivity, increasing the productivity of these organizations. So it's very important that organizations benefits that their employees are qualified for, they actually give it to them. Like Mr. Peter was citing, imagine after working for a certain number of months or number of years in a company, awards want to be given, they gave it to somebody else. It's a demoralizing thing. So it's important that organizations get themselves involved in such things, so that at the end of the day, the workforce will see reason for continuing to give their best towards the progress and productivity of these organizations. So those are little things I want to say. I got from this discussion this evening. I want to appreciate the moderators, you guys that came up with this topic. It's quite a nice topic, and I would say today is my day of really absorption. I've really not got much to contribute. I really enjoyed this. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for your appreciating statements. So, like I've said, or like I was saying, at this juncture, I think we need to call it a day, because we've exhausted everything with our past experience, all the resources available regarding this topic. So I just want us to watch out for the next topic for the coming week. Thank you very much. So bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Bye.